Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's video, this is going to take us around the 25th of November, and we will extend out a little bit beyond that. Actually, with the GFS, which runs to 2 weeks away. So, still the idea that we're going to turn things a lot colder through the course of next week. We're going to get high pressure building up over Scandinavia starting as soon as this weekend, but the cold air with those east winds will actually arrive by the middle of next week, really. And then we could go off and running into a very prolonged cold spell. There'll be no real change in the model output this morning. All models are suggesting a blocked picture. They are differing, as you would expect, in the placement of this block, and so therefore some of the models are really extending this cold into potentially quite a severe spell of weather, actually, by the end of November. Other models are sort of messing about with more of an Atlantic or southerly influence. I'll talk you through the models individually in a moment. But the broad thing, I talked about this yesterday, but obviously you will get chopping and changing from run to run and from model to model in terms of the exact detail, but the broad theme remains very blocked conditions setting up through the course of next week, and we could be in line for quite a prolonged cold spell. So I'll tell you for everything that's going on in a moment. Just to say that I'm going to give a shout out to our latest patrons. I'm on the wrong page. I'm actually going to flip this over from PayPal to Patreon. I'm running very, very late today, so sorry about that. So I'm going to say a big thank you to Stephen Gray. Stephen Gray has become Gazworthy's 39th patron. So a big thank you to Stephen for becoming our 39th patron. We're trying to get to 40 patrons before Christmas. I think we're going to do that. But big thank you to Stephen Gray for becoming our 39th patron and for helping to support Gazworthy. So if you'd like to become a patron like Stephen has done, and all you need to do is go to our Patreon page. We link to this on all the pages at YouTube and on all the pages of Gazworthy and in the description at YouTube. So just come here, you sign up for a Patreon account, and you can pledge any amount of money you'd like from $1 a month upwards as an ongoing monthly donation. The other way of doing it is to go to the Gazworthy.me PayPal page. This is it. And if you'd like to just give a one-off donation to Gazworthy, then all you need to do again, sign into your PayPal account, and then you can give a one-off donation. So that's the two ways that you can help us to pay the website and keep content completely free. So a big thank you to everybody for their support, and a big thank you for doing that. It really does mean a great deal. So I think better get on with the video, because as I say, we are running very, very late today. So we're going to start off with the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. So the black line here tells us where we've been with the AO. The red line's at the end, where the GFS samples are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Remember, it's just an index that's reflective of the state of the atmosphere. It's not driving anything. It just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. You can see we're going back into the sun. We had a prolonged period of positivity of the AO. Yes, we did get a few days that went into slightly negative territory with the AO, but generally through the summer it was a positive AO summer, and that continued into winter as well. We did go negative with the AO in the second half of October. That's as we had a cold snap at the beginning of the end of October, just about lasting into the beginning of November. This is where we are right now. We're at around neutral condition with the Arctic Oscillation, but look what the GFS ensembles are doing. They really are crashing the AO now. That's a collapse of the AO going off the cliff. I mean, that's just very extreme negativity of the Arctic Oscillation, telling us that really extensive northern blocking could well be on the way through the second half of November, just about running into the start of December too. Remember, blocking is the route to getting cold out of the Arctic, out of the pole, and down into the mid-latitudes. So you'll have high pressure up over the pole. When you have high pressure up over the pole, that pushes cold air out of the pole and down into mid-latitudes. It doesn't guarantee we will get cold in particular, because the Northern Hemisphere is a big place, so the cold air could be pushed out into somewhere like America or Asia. But in this instance, it does look as though we're going to be seeing colder weather coming along through the final week to 10 days of November. That is a really big crash in the AO as being predicted there. And the NAO is also on the move as well. So again, this same idea, black line tells us where we've been with the NAO, the red lines at the end where GFS symbols are forecasting the NAO to go. At the moment, we are weekly positive with the NAO. But again, look at these red lines really dipping away to a very low level, really. So, again, quite a crash being depicted there for the NAO. So we've got both the indexes, the AO and the NAO, going really negative through the final week of November, or the final 10 days of November. And so this tells us that the weather pattern is going to be changing fundamentally. We're going into a much more blocked pattern, and a pattern that will be conducive to bringing potentially some really quite cold weather indeed. So this is showing up on the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got the ECMWF here on the top, but GFS, which we'll have a look at in a moment, is on the bottom. 500 millibars, 80 miles feet is area in the absolute high pressure, low pressure. I've been moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. You can see that the ECM has this big blocking feature up here over the top of the pole. There it is, a big blocking area of high pressure. It also has this area of below average heights in the middle of the Atlantic, cutting underneath a block into southwestern parts of Europe with the jet stream going down here. Now that's just not quite lined up correctly to be delivering us very cold conditions. What will be happening there is we'll actually be drawing up some air from a southerly to southwesterly direction. So after initially becoming quite cold through the early part of next week, actually it will be turning a little bit less cold or a little bit milder. But again, that's just the way the model is varying from run to run and playing around with various scenarios. The broad message and most important point is this big blocking feature sitting to our north. As long as that is there, we are at risk of going into a prolonged spell of cold weather. The GFS really is putting it in quite a prolonged spell of cold weather. So again, it has this block up to our north with that large red area sitting between Greenland and Scandinavia. But the difference is the below average heights are further south underneath it. The jet stream is running through down to Spain and Portugal. And so there's nothing to bring up a milder Atlantic influence. And so what's happening there is that we're just bringing in cold or possibly even very cold easterly winds. Notice this deep trough sinking down through the west of Russia as well. That would be bringing extremely cold air into northern and western parts of Russia. And of course, if those east winds begin to tap into that, then things could turn really cold as we go into the early part of December. GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles are looking like this. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average. You're looking at London today. So starting off much milder than average. The next couple of days will be very mild. Although unfortunately we've clouded the sky up. The high pressure has clouded up. So we probably won't realise the temperature potential. I think those sort of temperatures we was thinking about, 17, 18 degrees, they are possible if it's sunny, but it's going to be a lot of cloud. Though it has been quite a lot of cloud today, there will be tomorrow. And so that will probably mean temperatures peg back into the mid to low teens Celsius, but the potential is there for something really warm. Anyway, over weekend into next week, a big slide in the temperature is taking place. And let me just go off and running into this, what looks now like quite a prolonged cold spell lasting through the final week of November, even there until we get to the 1st of December just here. Very good agreement right out to the very end of the ensemble there to be colder than average. Yes, of course, you always get one or two outlier members, and those are these ones just here that do look a little bit milder. But generally, this looks like a prolonged cold spell that is setting up. And some of those ensemble members are going down to -10 at 850 HPA or lower. And those are really cold ensemble members indeed. But again, they are outliers. Let's say it is just going to be turning cold over the final week to 10 days of the month. Temperature anomalies are lowering. This from the 15th to the 23rd of November. Notice France and Germany now being forecast to be colder than average in the weekend. The UK just about clinging on by our fingertips to slightly milder than average temperature anomalies. I reckon by the weekend those will be showing colder than average through the UK, through Ireland, through much of Europe actually. Precipitation anomalies from the 15th, 23rd of November, much drier than average, so we continue to be very dry, just the temperature is starting to slide away. That's how the pressure charts are looking on Sunday. So we're building up a ridge of high pressure over Scandinavia on Sunday, and we'll already be starting to pull in cooler, but probably sunnier, but cooler southeasterly winds as we go through to the end of the weekend. Now we get through to next week, and this high pressure really is unleashed. So I've got a large blocking feature there sitting in the Norwegian Sea to the north of the British Isles. The centre is between Greenland over there and Scandinavia over here, but the high pressure also backs into west of Russia. These easterly winds are moving into the UK like that, so quite a cold easterly wind already through the early part of next week. And then through the course of next week, it just gets colder. This is how the upper air temperatures are looking on Wednesday, for example. Wednesday 21st of November, bringing a -5 iceberg through the country. Cold enough for wintry showers in the east. Then we've got this area of low pressure developing over northern Germany and the Low Countries as we get through into the second half of next week. Now this is a complicating factor as it moves in across the North Sea. It could enhance the risk of showers in eastern and southeastern parts of the country. And we would have to look at the exact soundings within the atmosphere to decide whether that will be rain, whether it will be sleet, whether it will be snow, or maybe a mix of all three moving in from the east. But possibly something a little bit more prolonged in terms of precipitation through the second half of next week. Look at that blocking feature that we've got around Iceland and going up to Greenland. I have to say, the last time we saw such extensive northern blocking as that in the latter part of November was in 2010, just before the December to Remember. That's very unlikely that we're going to have another December to Remember, because that was the coldest December since 1890. It was only 0.1 of a degree off being the coldest December in the entire CET record, going back to 1659. So it really was an exceptionally severe cold spell. I think a lot of the time we sort of now underestimate a little bit just how severe December 2010 was. It pretty much a once in a lifetime. So it's very unlikely we're going to have another December to remember. But as I say, the last time we saw as extensive blocking as that, northern blocking as that at this time of the year, was just before the December to remember. Excuse me. Then we're going into the weekend of the 24th, 25th of November, still about very extensive blocking indeed, and we get this, excuse me again, we get this area of low pressure forming in sort of the North Sea on Saturday, and then that starts to sink down across the UK through to Sunday 25th. That could well be bringing something more generally wintry across the country. That could be snow moving down across the country. And again, you would have to look at the exact soundings within the atmosphere, dew points, thicknesses, all of that kind of thing, upper air temperatures. But that does look potentially quite wintry, I have to say there, for that final weekend of November. Look at the block that we've got over Greenland again, up to 1,055 millibars. As that low pressure moves away, we start to pull in very cold air from the east. Look at that cold air pooling over Scandinavia. So as the wind goes back into the east again through Monday 26th and Tuesday 27th of November, we really are putting in a bitterly cold easterly wind. By this point, there's the upper air temperatures with the -10 isotherm pushing in across many parts of the UK. We'd be struggling to get temperatures much above freezing across the northern and eastern parts of the country, would you believe, with that. And we'd be bringing in snow showers into the east as well, of course. And then this run of the GFS 6 o'clock run just stays very, very cold as we go up to the extended range. That's how we look. Still locked in to really cold conditions. High pressures blocking around Greenland still. Low pressure sitting around the UK and Northern Europe as like a trough. Follow the isobars back. The areas originate from a very, very long way north indeed. That is a prolonged and, I have to say, quite severe cold spell that the GFS is setting up. I think it was synoptically an outlier, so it's unlikely to verify like that, but it is a suggestion that once this block gets going in the coming days, it could take a lot of shifting and we could be setting up a prolonged cold spell. The key word there is could. This is how the ECMWF is looking again. The high pressure is in over Scandinavia on Sunday through to next week. We get this first push of easy winds, possibly bringing wintry showers into the east through the middle of next week. Then it goes a little bit messy into the second half of next week. So we saw it on the height anomaly flow chart, just not quite setting up a prolonged and potentially quite severe cold pattern. It is still very blocked, so we still have high pressure sitting to our north. We still have it to our east. We've just got these areas of low pressure to our south and west. So they're just bringing up slightly milder or less cold air from a southerly type source. We get to day 10 and still looking very blocked. I mean, the high pressure is reforming over Scandinavia. Again, actually it's having a really good job to get the wind in from the east. Still with these low pressures messing about to the south and southwest. The jet stream is down here, by the way. So again, the air is being drawn up from kind of like a southerly southeast direction. If we could roll on another day or two, it'd be interesting to see what happened there. I suspect the low pressure would move in that kind of direction. We would probably see this high pressure over Scandinavia strengthening and possibly pulling in the wind back from the east again, if we could roll on another day or two. And then the GEM looks like that. High pressure blocking over Scandinavia starts us off with this cold spell through the early and middle part of next week. That's how we look as we go into the second half of next week. Very, very blocked conditions indeed. The high pressure retrogresses to Iceland and to Greenland. Low pressure down here. Follow the isobars back. We've got really cold air pushing down into west of Russia, and if you follow those isobars back, that air is beginning to be pushed out across Europe. So it's still on course. There's no sign of a downgrade to the blocking signal. All that's happening is that model runs between themselves are kind of like playing around with various scenarios within this blocking, but the broad picture is that this very extensive northern blocking is on the way. This is how the CFS V2 is now forecasting December in terms of a 700 millibar height anomaly. So it's placing an area of high pressure, blocking high pressure to the north of the UK. We've got this area of low pressure middle of the Atlantic. So the jet stream is going down here somewhere, and we're trying to bring in sort of easterly winds from here. A little bit inconclusive as to whether it will be a cold month with those easterly winds dominating, or whether it would be the trough in the Atlantic that would hold sway. But certainly that is a lot more blocked for December than it was showing just a few short days ago. We'll worry about that in when we get to it. I think got enough to be going on within the next few days, because we're going to get this high pressure building up over Scandinavia through the weekend. At the start of next week, it'll get the wind into the east. We'll bring the first pulse of cold air from the east through around Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Although you'll feel the chill as early as Sunday, temperatures will start to feel cooler, but the genuinely quite cold air will arrive by the middle of next week. Make just a case of wait to see where we go from there. Are we going to go into a prolonged, potentially severe cold spell? The GFS, I think, was a outlier in terms of how severe it was. But once you get into these very blocked scenarios, they can take an awful lot of shifting. So it's not impossible we could have a very snowy and quite severe spell of weather setting up in the next week or two. And obviously we'll have to keep you updated on that. Equally, the ECMWF is possible as well, which is a relatively short, early push of cold air. Then it all goes very messy with a lot of low pressure and not overly cold conditions. But again, even on the ECM, as long as that block is lurking to the north and northeast of us, we could find ourselves in cold conditions even on that scenario quite easily. So it's all to be revealed, but basically the broad picture, if that is all very much still on course. I expect much colder weather to be arriving through the course of next week, and potentially quite a prolonged and maybe even fairly severe spell of cold weather could be on the way. Right, so that's your video for today. Sorry about it being so late. Tomorrow we're going to be doing JMA Friday, of course, and we'll have your week to 10 day video update as well. Loads of updates coming up over the weekend. I'll talk more about those in tomorrow's video because I'm running so late today. But just say that I think on Sunday evening, between 5 and 7, myself and Quantum are going to do a live chat about all of this cold weather and possibly even talking a little bit about snow potential and that kind of thing. So that will be on Quantum's YouTube channel, but you'll also be able to watch it on Gals Web. It'll be interactive with Facebook, Twitter, so you'll be able to post questions and we'll do our best to answer all of your questions about this cold weather. That's between 5 and 7 on Sunday. And there'll be loads of other updates coming up over the weekend as well, and as I'll talk about those more tomorrow. Right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.